main takeaway for our podcast is twofold, right? There's so many instances in which we memorialize people just by naming them. So if you think about something like the 9/11 memorials or Vietnam memorials, they'll have public readings where like their names are said, the people who have passed have been said. And I think that on one level, this is like also symbolic that we're saying those names and memorializing and remembering them in some way.
Yes.
On the other hand, you know, one of the things I think is important is to share stories and to continue to share stories. And you never know where a story might end up, like if it gets in front of the right person at the right time. So I think that's also part of our process. As for, you know, the takeaway of like, you know, what women can do, one of the things I think about is women, our whole lives have been shaped by messaging about ways in which we're unsafe. Like the stories that we tell in our podcast, sometimes I have to remind myself and I have to remind other people that based on those stories, those are the stories that we heard that changed our behaviors in the first place, right? So, you know, riding a bike alone along like a stretch of desert, that's a story that we hear that we're like, ooh, should I go out alone and do that? Hitchhiking, right? Like that used to be really prevalent for both, you know, men and women. Stories of harm that have happened there really changed our behavior. So I think that in a lot of ways, we as women particularly have consumed this, not even just through the true crime genre, but it's just all around us about how to live our lives to be more safe. And part of that is incredibly sad to me because there's so much that is blocked from us from enjoying on a regular basis. Like I was thinking, you know, this morning I took my dog for a walk and we usually walk at the same time in the same direction. And I was like, oh, should we be like, you know, if someone knows that they can find me in a certain location alone at a certain time, you know? So I think, we do kind of already exist in a world in which like we've absorbed this information and have put safeguards in place.
Is there anything else that you would like to add or to make sure that others take away from today and from your show?
You know, I think one of the things that I'm working on outside of She Goes by Jane, because I cannot live with just apparently one project going, is I'm working with a woman. It's to tell her story of a wrongful conviction. And the only way in which that case moved forward was by like her sheer will and determination in keeping her mother who was murdered in light and centered and pushing forward to find the real perpetrator of the crime. And I often think about this with our missing and unidentified women as well. Some of the cases that have been most successful in being resolved are because someone sat down and said, I am going to put my energy and effort here, whether it's a family member or an outsider. They pushed those stories to the forefront and really were advocates in it.